Why we're surrounded by
back to Bibliophile Reads. I'm Courtney and today you're joining me for my weekly wrap-up. So on my weekly wrap-ups, I jump on and tell you everything that I read this week and my thoughts on them, as well as any bookish things that happened this week. My intent was to do a weekly vlog. I started vlogging on Monday and then nothing. I tried on Tuesday. Well, I thought about it on Tuesday, but I didn't actually vlog because I was just reading and I didn't have anything to update. I'm on a no spin January, so there were no books to purchase. I actually had all of my January books that I wanted to purchase this month. I pre-ordered them last month so that I wouldn't be shopping in January. And so I was like, there's nothing really to update on. I'm just going to read. So I think most of us have heard about the TikTok ban. I unfortunately do fall down the rabbit hole of TikTok. I have officially deleted it from my phone. I know it's going to happen anyway, but I really want to stop mindlessly scrolling. My goal is to read 15 to 20 books each month. That's not going to happen if I'm scrolling. And so I really want all of my downtime to be either with my family or reading books. And so I'm just trying to get rid of all the distractors. Okay, so this week I read, let me pull up, okay, two books. Great. That's good. No, it's good. Okay, so I read 2 books this week. Not ideal. I typically like to read 3 to 4, but I got stuck on 1 book. So I'll talk about that. So I was just updating my book journal. If you're new to the channel, I'll say welcome. Thanks for joining. Check out my content to see if this is a channel you'd like to subscribe to. If you're returning, I appreciate you. You've seen this before, but this is my reading journal for 2025. I'm using the Hobonichi Tech-O Cousin. I've never used this before. I was highly influenced by TikTok. It is a planner, but I already have a planner, and so I wanted to use it for book journaling. What I did at the end of last year was I would take a calendar and each day I would write the books that I was reading that day, and then I would write when I finished the book. It was just a great way for me to keep track. I know there is, on Goodreads, you can have your start date and your end date, but I just want to like per day writing down what I'm doing. And so I'm kind of building this out as I go. I don't have super defined rules on how this journal is going to go. I'm literally just winging it. I've said this before on my channel. I am not artsy. I don't draw. I don't have like creative talents to like decorate pages and all that. So I'm just doing the journal the way that I want to do it. So I started just tracking, you know, what I read each day. And so that's what I have here. And then what I decided to do was that I was going to start picking a book of the month, or excuse me, a book of the week at the end of each week, so that I can kind of talk more about it. And when I finish a book, I just put the sticker cover on the day that I finished and I write a little synopsis about it. I had the arc of Annabelle Moynihan's It's a Love Story. I did finish that last week and I just printed the picture off, so I will add my notes here. I print the pictures off in collages of 4, so I don't want to waste my sheets of sticker paper on my HP Sprocket. So when I have 4 pictures to print off, that's when I print them and then I add to the journal. So I'm touching it almost every day in a sense, but not always for bookish things. So last week my book of the week was Mad Honey, as we wrapped up December and into January. This week my book of the week is one of the books I'm going to talk to you about today. And then I also do like a habit tracker at the front of this planner because they have like these dates listed vertically. And so I'm tracking my habits here. So just trying to figure out what I want to do with each page. And then I also do like a digital junk journal. So like I'm all over the place. But anyway, okay, so let's talk about what I read this week. I really thought I read more than that. Apparently I didn't. So I first read Romance Rivalry by Susan Lee. This is an e-arc that I was so happy to get. I just recently got back on NetGalley. According to NetGalley, I joined in 2021. And I was not very good at NetGalley. I would not read the books or not review them, mostly not reading them or downloading them, because I don't like the format of the book if it doesn't have a cover. It just makes my Kindle look gross. And so I was kind of stuck on that for a little bit. But now I'm back on and really excited to get a couple of great author picks that I have wanted to read. So Romance Rivalry was a really great book. Susan Lee wrote Soulmates and The Name Drop, and she always sets her characters are always Korean or Korean American, and they're just really, really cute stories. I'm going to read you the synopsis of Romance Rivalry since it's not out yet. I definitely don't want to spoil anything, but let me read you the synopsis and then I will give my take. Okay, this book is set to come out May 13th, 2025. I did end up giving this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. This is a HarperCollins publisher. So here is the synopsis. She's read every romance except her own. Irene Park loves romance novels, so much so she's made a career of them as an online book reviewer with a massive following. But Irene's real-life dating story, non-existent. So when she starts her freshman year of college, she sets her sights on finding true love using the one thing she really understands, romance book tropes. If only it were that easy. Enter Aiden Jeong, Irene's online book review rival and biggest nemesis. When Aiden challenges her to see who can find love by trope first, he becomes the one person standing in her way to getting everything she wants professionally and personally too. So when the competition takes an unexpected turn, forcing the two of them to have to partner in the ultimate trope, fake dating, Irene is not prepared for everything she believed about romance, and Aiden to flip on its head. As Irene tackles the challenges of college life, struggles to figure out what she really wants for herself, all while trying to win the race for love, Irene realizes the answers may not be found in a romance novel. Happily Ever Afters seems so easy on page, but for Irene to find her ultimate HEA, she'll have to get her nose out of the book and become the main character of her own story. So I love that synopsis because literally that's the entire book. We have Irene and Aiden, 18, 19 years old, in college. They don't know that they're going to college together, and they have to pair up. What I liked about this book was the way Susan Lee has structured the book, in which she kind of leads into each section with a romance trope, and she has like a quote from sort of what Irene and Aiden have said online as book reviewers, or like booktubers. They just don't say booktubers. And so that was really cool. It reminded me of When Harry Met Sally. If you've seen that, you know, they have like the scenes and then it cuts to like the couples, how they met and, you know, how long they've been together, and they tell their story and then it cuts to the next scene. So it's sort of like that. Something else that's really unique about this book, and I don't know if they will keep it, but I like at the beginning they have like a glossary of romance terms, and so there's a lot of romance terms thrown in the book, and so you can really tell Susan Lee's passion for romance books throughout telling this story, and overall it's just a really great book. It did take me 2 days to read it. It was really quick, but I really liked it. So next up I read Beg, Borrow, and Steal, which is where we had issues. So it took me like 4 days to read this book, which totally fine. Read the book however long you need to. It doesn't generally take me 4 days to read a book that I'm really into. I had pre-ordered this book, and this book is by Sarah Adams. I did end up giving it 3.5 stars. And I'm kind of wavering. I have it 3 on Goodnotes right now, but 3.5 on Storygraph, which I am really leaning towards Storygraph, and putting all my things on there. So okay, so this book follows 2 neighbors who are also second grade teachers at the same school, but they've always had like this bigger back and forth, and the guy, he leaves at the end of the school year and then the summer to go get married. He goes to Nebraska with his fiance. He comes back to the town in Rome, Kentucky, which is part of the series, right? It's the When in Rome series. This is book 3. He comes back to Rome, Kentucky, no longer engaged. He's the talk of the town because he's not engaged anymore. And he has the house right next to Emily, our main character. His name is Jackson, but they call him Jack. And they start kind of picking at each other, and then okay, this is where it falls off for me. Emily accidentally, she gets drunk one night and accidentally sends her manuscript, because she wants to be a writer, to her principal, because her principal's name is Bart, and she wanted to send it to the publishers named Barbara. And she immediately calls Jackson to help her fix it. Now this is like day 2 of him being back in Rome, Kentucky, after they've had this long history of being enemies, basically. And so that was very interesting to me. Jackson is also a writer, and he has quite the following. He makes lots of money on his books, but he uses a pseudonym, so nobody knows that he is an author as well. So he kind of helps her build confidence in her writing and helps her like fix the problem of getting her manuscript back. Here's where it lost me, and I mean, it's a romance, so we know where it's going to end. But what lost me, and this always loses me, is when we go from enemies to lovers within 2 seconds flat. That is not realistic to me. In this book, Jackson literally has had Emily on his mind forever. Even when he left Rome, Kentucky, apparently, she was all he thought about and knew that he shouldn't get married. And they just fell into this coupledom so quick. Also, they did have a third act breakup in this book, and the reason for the third act breakup was so minimal that it was just like, okay, you're doing this to follow a certain pattern. It didn't make any sense. And then at the very end of the book, like 95% in, we threw in a new problem, and I was like, guys, like, we are done with the book. And I was struggling to get it done, and so by the time I got to like 95%, I was like, okay, we're done, because usually it's like 95%, and then you have like a preview of the next book, or you have the epilogue. No, this book went to 99%, and I was dying. The only reason I got so much done yesterday is I had to get my hair braided, and I was reading then, but that was the push that I needed to get it done, because it was going to linger for a while. So 3.5, you know, Sarah Adams is hit or miss for me, clearly. I think overall I'm giving her books like 3s. So I don't know how I feel about continuing with her books. I don't think a 3 is bad, but like I want to enjoy the book. I want to flip through the book. I want to feel like that was so good I could read it again, and I never want to read Big Borrow or Steal again. And it's hard to recommend. I think if you're deep in the romance, you know the tropes, totally fine, but I just don't love that rushed enemies to lovers. It drives me bananas. So those are the 2 books that I read, and I need to speed up my reading for January because I have my personal goals of wanting to read more. But what I found over the years of tracking my reading is that this is the time of the month where I always sort of fall off, where I feel stalled. And then next week, I'm like turning out a book every day. Like I just get this burst of energy. So we shall see. But let's talk about what I want to read in the upcoming week. Okay, so there's a couple of books that I downloaded in the past couple of weeks that I have my eye on. They've just been on the back burner of things that I wanted to pick up. But I'm currently reading All Better Now by Neil Shusterman. This is another e-arc that I received, so thankful to get that, and I am just about 13% in. This is a YA sort of dystopian novel, and so I'm working through that. I also downloaded this book called The Party Line by Carolyn Brown, and this book follows, I don't know if they have her name, Lila, who goes to her Aunt Grace's house after her aunt has passed away. And so as she's going through the house and figuring out the legacy of her aunt, there's some things that are secrets that have been buried that she does not know about. And so this sounded like a really cute, not cute, but a really good literary fiction book. And the cover is really cute. I thought the cover, I'll show you, looked adorable. Can you see that? Maybe I should just put the cover up. I'll put it here. I thought that looked adorable, and so I was excited to read that. In the synopsis, we don't get a clear picture of what Aunt Gracie is hiding, but when you say party line and you have like the picture, I'm thinking like a telephone line or a telephone worker. All right, the next book I picked up was The Author's Guide to Murder. This is by Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willing, and Karen White. This book says Agatha Christie meets murder, she wrote, meets #MeToo in this witty locked room mystery and literary satire. There's been a sensational murder at historic Castle Kinloch, a gothic fantasy of grey granite on a remote island in the Highlands of Scotland. Literary superstar Brett Safran Presley has been found dead under bizarre circumstances in the castle tower's book-lined study. Years ago, Presley purchased the castle as a showpiece for his brand and to lure paying guests with a taste for writerly glamour. Now it seems the castle has done him in, or possibly one of the castle's guests has. Detective Chief Inspector Ewan McIntosh, a local with no love for this literary American show-off, or Americans in general, finds himself at the inviolable task of extracting statements from 3 American lady novelists. The prime suspects are Kate De Noir, a slinky, sexy erotica writer, Casey Pringle, a southern mom of 6 juggling multiple cozy mystery series, and Emma Endicott, a New England blue blood and author of critically acclaimed historical fiction. The women claim to be best friends writing a historical novel about the castle's lurid past and its debauched laird, who himself ended up creatively murdered. But the author's stories about how they know Brett Safran Presley don't quite line up, and the detective is getting increasingly suspicious. So I think that sounds really cute and fun. So it's going to be like a humorous murder mystery, and I'm all down for that. So I would like to read those 3 for sure. And then I think I'll swing in a Babysitters Club this week. I'm still on book 66. I've never really deep dove into it because I was reading other things, but I will read that. And book 66 is Maid Marianne. And so I am rereading that. I'm about 13% in, so I'll continue with that as well. But yeah, those are the books that I want to read this week. I was reading Spark of the Everflame on audio. I actually picked it up from Audible and used a whole credit for it. So we'll see. I started it, but I can't, there's nothing wrong with it. I just haven't had time to listen to it. It's really hard for me to listen to audiobooks while I'm working. It just doesn't work for me because I can't focus on the work that I'm actually doing. And so that's been put on the back burner, but I have to listen to it because I spent a whole audio credit on it. So those are my plans for the week. This is what I read the past week. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, what you're going to read this week. Do you set yourself some goals for the week? Be sure to check out my last video I posted talking about the Kindle you should choose in 2025 because I think you'll be surprised with my answer. And I will see you guys again in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.